Hello everyone, welcome back. So in today's lesson, we're going to continue on from the previous exercise, and that is volumes of cylinders. And in today's lesson, there'll be some more difficult questions. So these are called volume of composite prisms, and as you remember, it's probably everyone's worst nightmare, but I'm going to try and break it down, and hopefully by the end of the lesson, you'll be able to do some of these questions with ease. So let's just get started. So let's see, example 3, calculate the volume to the nearest centimeter cubed. Now, just like with every other question, to find the volume, you got to find the area of the cross section, in this case, semicircle. So find the area of that. Once you get the area, multiply by the height, depth, whatever you want to call it, and then you get your answer. So as you can see, the diagram shows a half cylinder, so cylinder cut in half. So to find the volume, you got to find the area of the cross section. To find the area of the cross section, you got to do half times pi r squared. And that's because it's half a circle, right? So half times pi r squared times h, so h is the 13. So then just plug in the numbers, half times pi times the radius. Now the radius is not equal to 9. 9 is the diameter. So to find the radius, you got to halve the 9. So that's how they got the 4.5 here. Multiply by 13. Type into your calculator, you get this long number. Now, because the question says nearest centimeter cubed, round it to the nearest number. So you get 404 cubic centimeters. So that's that. Now, what I'm going to do is go through some examples of question 8. And I suggest you do all these questions, all right? Because you really need to do all these questions if you want to do well in your test. If you're just going to skip some of them, it's not going to be good, all right? So let's take a look. So this is it's some kind of prism. It's a quarter circle prism. So to find the volume, we need to just do, well, as with volume of any question, just do area times the height. So how do you find the area of this shape? This is the area that you need to work with, okay? So we know this is a quarter of a circle. So we can just say this is, to find the area of this, is just going to be a quarter times pi r squared h, right? Now, what's the radius of this circle? Now, the radius is going to be 4.2. Remember, this 4.2 is the radius. It's not the diameter, because we know that this is going to be the center of the circle, and this is the edge, right? So this is the radius. A quarter pi times 4.2 squared times by the height. The height is 21. Now, just plug it into your calculator, and you get your answer. So nearest cubic centimeters. So let's just type it in. So do a quarter times pi, shift, times 4.2 squared, times by 21. Now round this to the nearest number, so 291. Right. So pretty easy so far. Write the units. So units is cubic centimeters. Remember, volume is always in cubic. Alright, so that's this question. Now, let's take a look at question E. So to do question E, just write the formula down. Volume equals to area times the height. So this is a prism, but it's kind of like a donut looking prism. So to find the area of this circle, so this circle, so that's the area that you have to work out first before multiplying by the height. So in this case, 11.3. So how do you find the volume of this? How do you find the area of this shape? So remember, to find the area of this shape, so let's just do the area first, okay? So the area is equal to big circle on the outside, take away small circle on the inside, right? So the area is equal to a big circle, take away a small, right? So what you can do is, how do you find the area of the big circle? Well, that's just pi r squared. So pi times the radius of the big circle is 5.7. Take away the area of the small circle. So the area of the small circle has a radius of 3.3. So pi times 3.3 squared. And this would give you can type this into your calculator. Shift pi times 5.7 squared minus shift pi times 3.3 squared. So remember, to find the area of the part that I shaded, you got to do the big circle, take away the small circle, and you get 67.85. 0.86. Okay. Now the next step is to just multiply this number, because we already found the area, by the height. So then therefore volume is equal to 67.86 multiplied by the height is 11.3. Now what you want to do is you want to use the exact answer of this. Okay, so don't type in 67.86. What we can do is we can just use the answer button here, and the answer button here will give you the exact value of this. So I can just type answer times 11.3. So this is a neat calculator trick that you can use to make sure that you get the exact value. And the answer is 760, in this case, 767 cubic centimeters. So I'm just going to explain to you how to use the answer button. So say if I have this, right? So I have pi times shift pi times 5.7 squared minus shift pi times 3.3 squared. Now I have this long answer, right? Now if I want to use the exact value of this, rather than typing 67.86 into my calculator, so I can just use the answer button. This answer button will refer to this long number. So I can just do ans times 11.3. So then I'm using the exact value of this. So I'm not doing any rounding. So like I said, when it comes to doing these questions, you do not want to round unless it's the very last step. And you get, now here is when you round. All right, so that's question E. Let's take a look at question F. Now to do question F, now we know this is not a prism. Bless me. This is not a prism, so then what you need to do is you need to just find the volumes of these three shapes and then you add them together, right? So we can just say this is V1, V2, now this thing over here is actually the same as, so these two shapes, they have the same thing. So this is, I can write this as V1 as well, because both these two things have the same volume. So I can just say the volume is equal to V1 times 2 plus V2, right? Because both of these have the same volume. So let's do this. So the volume is equal to, now how do you find the volume of V1? So remember that this is just a cylinder, so it's just pi r squared h. Pi times r. So what's the radius of this shape here? So we know that the diameter is 14, so the radius is going to be 14 divided by 2, right? So then what we can do is, well, that's just equal to 7, so you can just do 14 on 2. Pi r squared times by the height. The height of this shape is 4. So this is the volume of, so that's V1, right? So then we need to multiply this by 2. And the reason we do this is because we have two V1s, right? So now we've found the volume of the two side cylinders. Now we have to work out the volume of the cylinder that's in the middle. So how do we do that? Well, it's just going to be pi r squared h. So we just do pi times the radius. Now what's the radius here? Remember the diameter is 7, so the radius is going to be 7 on 2. Times by the height. Now the height of this thing in the middle is 25. So that's the middle cylinder. This is the side cylinder, right? So then just type this into your calculator and you get your answer. So hopefully this makes sense, even though I've kind of done the whole thing in one go, but I'm just going to explain it to you again. So to find the volume of this whole shape, you need to find the volume of the two side cylinders, so V1 and V1, and then you also have to work out the cylinder that's in the middle. So to work out the volume of the side cylinders, you just have to find the volume of one of the cylinders, times it by 2, because there's two of them. To find the volume of one of the cylinders, you got to do pi r squared times h. So pi r squared h, that's the formula to find the volume of a cylinder. And the radius of the side cylinder is going to be 7, right? Because it's half of the 14. 14 is the diameter. So you do pi times 14 on 2 squared, which is, I'm going to change this to 7 just to make it more clear. Right. Times 4. So that's the volume of one cylinder times by 2. Now to work out the volume of the cylinder in the middle, we have to do pi times r squared. Now the r is going to be different to the side cylinder. It's going to be half of the 7. So I'm just going to write 3.5 here, just to make it more clear. And then multiply by the height of the cylinder, which is 25. Right. So then just type this into your calculator and then you're good to go. So just do shift pi times 7 squared. Oops. Shift pi times 7 squared times 4. So this is the volume of the side cylinder times by 2 because there's 2 of them, plus shift pi times 3.5 squared times 25. And you get this big number here, and round it to the nearest number because this is nearest centimeter cubed. So to round this up, you just write 2194 centimeters cubed. Alright, so hopefully this makes sense. I mean, it's kind of logical to break it down like this. Alright, now I'm going to do question 10C. Okay, so question 10 is, in my opinion, question 10 is actually an easier question than question 8. But the only reason they put it here is because they want to ask you to find the capacity. So let's just do it. Alright, so the part 1 just says calculate the volumes. That's the easy part. Volume equals to, got to find the area of the circle, pi r squared times by the height. So in this case, what's the radius? Radius is 72.5, as you can see. It's the distance between the side to the center. So pi times 72.5 squared times by the height, which is 108. Type it in. So shift pi times 72.5 squared times 108. Right to the nearest centimeter cubed, so 1783. So you can put a comma for every 1,000 if you want to. 40. Now this is going to be 404, right? Because nearest number, centimeters cubed. Okay. Now the next question says calculate the capacity. So you got to convert this into liters, right? Because if 1 liter is equal to 1,000 centimeter cubed, how many liter is this? So 1,000 centimeter cubed is equal to 1 liter. So how many liters is this? So you just have to divide this by 1,000, right? So if you divide this by 1,000, it should just be, you can use your calculator, but what you should get is 1783 liters. Because if you divide this by 1,000, what you get is this. If you divide this by 1,000, so you see how I use the answer button because that's the previous number. I get this, right? And to round this to the nearest number is 1783, and that's what I wrote here. So you can say capacity equals that. All right. So that should be all for today. So just to recap what I taught today. Today I've kind of explained how to find the volume of composite prisms. And to do the volume of composite prisms, you got to find the area of the cross section multiplied by the depth. And for some of these shapes, it's a bit more complicated where you need to actually, to find the area, you have to subtract the big shape by the small shape. And for this particular question, you have to find the volume of the individual prisms and you add them together. So hopefully it's not too challenging. So I do agree it's a little bit more challenging than what we did yesterday, but it's very important you do these questions because they're most likely going to come up in the topic test. All right, so that's all for today. Thank you for listening.